They're pretty close to getting engaged.
I saw somewhere, I heard something.
It's not.
It doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be into, unless you're manufacturing.
Ready? All right, everybody's here. We'll open monthly meeting. Certainly welcome all our guests. I assume we're gonna have some speakers tonight in the public hearing. Certainly have a quorum. Everyone is present. Approval of the minutes is brought to our attention, the packet that we got. You look at the top, the Monday of 2024, but she's giving me an updated one for the minutes with the correct date. So that's the only thing been brought to our attention. Anyone else know of anything else in the minutes? Not, can I get a motion for approval?
I move minutes be approved. Is that correct?
All right. And a second. She must have not have notes.
You may have to redo that.
Huh?
You may have to redo that.
No, well, I have it here. Juan made the motion and Mr. Bates seconded. Approved. All right, moving on to I guess it's old business, the detached dwelling unit ordinance subdivision that's been handed back to it from the board of supervisors. I'll turn it over to David to kind of explain what their feelings are about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last two that came before us, one was pulled out and the second one was denied. The consensus of the board of supervisors that don't feel that second dwellings should be allowed in subdivisions. Those folks that choose to live in that environment on smaller lots is what they look for. And one of the biggest things, when VDOT does the road specs for the subdivision, they plan it on this many houses. And when you start putting second dwellings in, it just, all that gets messed up. So the board sent it back down to the planning commission to revise the ordinance and send something back to us, where we can approve. But we're looking for no second dwellings in subdivision. We don't mind, none of us mind, second dwellings on lots outside of
Subdivision.
planned communities. You know, we do it all the time for elderly parents, kids. I think that's fine. It's just the only sticking point was the subdivision.
I guess with their whatever subdivision ordinances were put together to start with, which was approved, it's opposite of that.
Yeah.
Or
But it's gotta
different from that.
go through the process and come back down
Go through the committee and all that stuff.
and come back up. That's the direction that the board wants to go.
Okay. Well, do y'all want to think about this until January? We weren't planning on having a meeting in December and come up with something?
I think the zoning committee
Think
will
it
have
to
to meet.
meet, yeah.
Zoning?
The committee will have
Okay.
to meet, discuss it, and then bring it back to the board.
All right, we'll have to set a meeting date for that.
It does fall under zoning, right?
Yeah. Then we'll bring it back to y'all. Anybody have any comments or questions for David? Or any of those on the zoning committee that might want to? Well, if you do, just speak up to some of the zoning committee members. And I'm not,
I know you're an hour on the committee. I don't know who else is on there.
I think David's on it, and I'm not sure who. I'd have to look up. I don't have that with me. All right, well, we'll take care of that and bring it back to us.
I think I'm on it.
All right. The next item of business for this evening is a public hearing for rezoning request for Modular Homes LLC. Dennis, is Michael be on?
Michael is on, yes, I think.
Is you gonna update us or Michael gonna update us?
I'm happy to update you. I'm here. How are you, Mr. Chair?
Glad to have you this evening.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here. So quickly, this is a application by Modular Homes LLC requesting to rezone property from Rural Residential 3, RR3, to M2 Industrial for 2 adjacent properties located on the south side of US 360 between Pine Ridge Drive and Patrick Henry and Jackson Lane. The properties are identified as TM 39-79C and 40-24D. They're 2.35 acres and 4.78 acres respectively. So in the comprehensive plan, this is identified as rural and agricultural preservation area. Surrounding zoning is RR3, R1, B1, and RP5 rural preservation. In the staff report, we laid out for you the allowed uses, well, the intent and the allowed uses within the M2 industrial district. And also indicated what the requirements of the 360 overlay district are as well. Specifically the yard and setback requirements. And then we laid out some of the applicable policies of the rural and agricultural preservation area, planning area. And then essentially your criteria or the criteria for the zoning ordinance for zoning map amendments, for rezonings, among the factors to be taken into account in consideration of any rezoning request are the location, nature, and extent of the proposed activity or use, and the possible adverse effects of said rezoning. And I think as we indicate, and as the applicant indicates in their application, they had indicated their intent was to, for the proposed use for parking, because they need more room to expand the business. And I discussed it with Mr. Tatum. Principally, he's seeking the rezoning to allow for the expansion, additional parking for the Tatum's hauling business located across 360, approximately at parcel 39-81A. We looked at that, looked at the proposed rezoning, looked at his current use, which more closely fits to a truck stop use in the zoning ordinance, maybe better than off-street parking. And so in talking to him, he just wanted to confirm that he would be able to use it for expanded use of the truck stop use of Tatum's hauling. And so reviewing that, reviewing the request, looking at the comprehensive plan and the associated nearby zoning, what we have recommended is that it be rezoned to B1, which is actually the zoning of the Tatum's hauling property today across the street, more consistent with the area. So we would recommend rezoning to B1 versus M2. M2 may open it up to other uses that you don't currently anticipate in that area and may not be consistent with other properties in that area. But I do note that the request is not a conditional zoning, so there's no proffers. Whether it were to be rezoned to M2 or B1, it would be able to be developed under the allowances for either district. We've provided, I've misnumbered them here, but there are 4 options in the staff report for the Planning Commission. The first one would be consistent with staff's recommendation, which would be to recommend approval to B1. The second would be consistent with the application, which would be to recommend approval to M2. Option 3 would be deferral of the application, and then option 4 would be denial, a recommendation of denial. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have, or now or later in the meeting.
The only question I had I guess up front is, why was he not interested in B1 as compared to M2? M2
I think he might,
pretty
I think
industrial.
Mr. Tatum, yeah, Mr. Tatum may be able to answer that. If he's at the meeting, he did indicate to me that down the road in the future, he may be able to make use of the railroad siding, but that was not something that he had planned now. And, you know, down the road in the future, that could be evaluated if he wanted to make that application.
All right. Any commission members have any questions for Mike?
Is there
Before I
any
open-
M2 on the surrounding parcels? I don't think so.
Huh?
Is there any surrounding M2?
No M2 closed. He said B1's across the road.
Does he have to rezone it all if he wants to make a parking lot out of it?
If he wants to use both parcels, then we would consider it the entire use to be truck stop use. But if you bear with me 1 second, I can show you I can share my screen and show you the zoning map. If you give me 1 minute. All right, you should be able to see my screen, and this property is the existing Tatum's Hauling property. And the properties we're talking about are this property here, 40-24D, and then 39-79C, which is bisected by Pine Ridge.
Looking at the ordinance, it says permitted use is by right. Off-street parking is included there. And look to the definition of off-street parking. It doesn't distinguish between industrial or commercial, anything, you know.
I mean, I would think if we want to make a parking lot out of it, he wouldn't have to rezone it all.
That's what Travis is saying. We don't even see the need to rezone it because off-street parking is allowed already.
I think our interpretation was the definition of truck stop use is any building, premises, or land in which or upon which a business, service, or industry involving the maintenance, servicing, storage, or repair of commercial vehicles is conducted or rendered, including the dispensing of motor vehicle fuel or other petroleum products directly into motor vehicles, and the sale of accessories or equipment for trucks or similar commercial vehicles. Certainly, he's not doing all of that, but I think where we were reviewing it was the commercial parking of tractor trailers and trailers on the property.
Is truck
I
stop currently
would-
in our ordinances?
It is in the B1 zoning district. And
But
I
you plan on
would,
putting a
I
truck
would
stop there?
tell,
I think what Michael's saying is that they, as the consultant, is considering a truck stop because it's commercial vehicles and not
Yeah.
personal vehicles.
Just a parking lot.
and I would tell you
Storage.
that, yes, off-street parking is allowed in other zoning districts, but if you were to interpret this as off-street parking, then that would open the door to allow this type of off-street parking in other
In-
districts where you may not anticipate that.
Yeah, like we need to look at that and maybe change it to some kind of personal off-street parking and commercial off-street parking. That is different, you know, just like this case.
That's not for us to discuss tonight, but for us to look into.
My issues is with the application here. It says, proposed usage, no specific use has been identified. That's you're gonna put, we don't know what he's planning on doing. I'm not gonna get favor with that. We need to know what's gonna go there. What you're gonna use.
We'll find out in a minute, public hearing, I'm saying. Any more questions for Mike before we open public hearing? Sure to stir up some possible questions. Anyone like to speak before I open public hearing? Hearing none, I'll open public hearing for the rezoning. If you'd like to speak, come forward, state your name, address, and try not to keep it too long. I will cut you off. But everybody will have an opportunity, so don't worry about that.
How are y'all tonight?
Fine.
I know most of you. I was born and raised here. My name's Olin Hardy. Own the little house on the corner. of
Olin.
Jackson Lane.
Can I get your address?
Thanks. 6701 Manigate Drive, Midlothian, Virginia.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I own the little house on the corner, have owned it about 20 years. And I must say, the Hardings have always farmed this land, and they keep it immaculate. They're really good farmers. And I kind of shudder to think that I won't be able to go up there and see that nice farm, nice soybeans, nice corn crops. And I worry about my neighbors over there on Pine Ridge, because they've got to go, the only way to get in that subdivision is dissect these two parcels. So they're gonna see all these trucks. I'm gonna see them from my house, if there's indeed trucks. Might be a ready-mix plant, might be a rail siding, might be a slurry plant, might be an asphalt plant. M2 opens a lot of doors. You don't know what it's gonna be. And I like for a business to expand, but I want to note right behind Mr. Tatum's business right now, today. I checked it on the MLS when I left my office. It's 144 acres for sale. There's border him on the back. It would make more sense to me if I had that business to buy that and put my trucks and stuff back, keep it all in one location, than to have truck drivers putting their trucks over there, walking down 360 in the middle of the night to get in their personal cars to go home. That just doesn't make sense to me. I worry about the air quality. I worry about the water quality there. If he does some type of industrial thing, is he gonna drill wells? Is my well gonna go dry? I worry about the truck traffic. You're talking about B1 zoning. Today I did a survey. My house is in Wood Lake. I got to the Amelia line. I looked at the 360 truck plots. A lot of trucks over there. Zone B1. Across the street, car excavating. A lot of trucks there. Zone B1. Coming on down the road, I get the Goodman truck and tractor. Man, it's a lot of trucks there. Zone B1. Across the street where Franklin Vaughan used to be, a lot of trucks over there. Zoned RP5. Get to Buddy's place, the old Buddy's place, which is a thrift store there. I've seen as many as 50 and 60 trucks over there at a time in the heyday. Zone B1. Go on down the road, there's Bill Porter shop. Trucks everywhere. Zone B1. And then we get to Dennis Tatum shop, it's zone B1. This thing don't meet the sniff test. It just is, it's too many smoke and mirrors in this proposal. So I want y'all to dig into it and find out what his true intent is. If his true intent is to expand, he got a piece of property right behind it for sale right now. I'm sure somebody on this board will write that contract. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Actually, it should be able to do, they get somebody.
Hi, my name is Donna White. My address is 6420 Tower Lane. However, I own land on Pine Ridge that doesn't have a numerical. I bought it from Mr. Harding. And my question is what would happen with our road if that was changed? And the other thing is I would like to clarify is a lot of people out here, you're saying B1, this, that. A lot of these people do not discuss real estate. So I think part of the zoning, you know, if it was explained to everybody what the difference between B1 and M2 is, then that would make a lot more sense to everyone else here because not everyone deals with real estate or deals with politics. If he is truly planning on doing a parking lot, there is no reason to be industrial, period. And not only that, if he is talking about doing a construction and doing the railroad, then how much money is he going to have to put in? Because then that railroad needs to be upgraded because it is a private railroad. When we went to buy the land there, it took us over a year and we still couldn't get title unless we attached it to our property on Tower Lane because the railroad company says that they are doing away with the privates, that anyone that sells and buys any of the privates, you have to pay a $500 application fee, which I had already done, got approved. And then they told me I owe them another 500. I said, for what? They said, for us to send you the thing, because you got to pay 500 a year. I said, I'm not signing anything or paying you the 500 until I'm able to read this contract. So I got the contract and sent it to my attorney. And it actually stated in there, it's $500 a year for anyone across the private crossing. And not only that, if they choose that they need to upgrade the crossing, they upgrade it to however they want, and they split the bill between everyone back there. So if that's part of the issue, and he's talking about building something industrial and utilizing the railroad track, how is that possible when we can't even get our homes built on the other side of the railroad tracks? And I live our land butts up right up to the railroad tracks. So I mean, also, no offense, I bought the land knowing there may be some houses or a few things through there, but not a concrete plant. What is that going to do to our value? As he said, what about our wells? What about the water runoff? Because we dealt with this in Chesterfield. They built other subdivisions. My mom had to close in her pool because everything was not done correctly, and the water blows up her pool. Pushes all the water out and blows up the liner. So, I mean, what if y'all do this industrial, what assurance do you have for all the homeowners that are there now to prove to us that we'll still have good septics, good water, and not have a lot of issues with our land that we don't have at this time?
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Dan Paxton. I live at 6800 Pine Ridge Drive, right behind the closest house actually to where this is proposed to be happening at. So we have a myriad of issues we are concerned about, regardless of the zoning, whether we're looking at the M2 or the B1. The primary issues we're concerned with taking this, what is currently good little farmland and turning it in to some other type of use is air quality. Dust in that area can already be bad. If this isn't some type of paved lot that they're putting down, you guys have all been around heavy trucks on a gravel road before, you know that that's going to increase the amount of dust in there and the air quality. We have a 4-year-old daughter, and the reason we chose this part of Amelia County is because of its ruralness. I love the fact that I drove through two what at the time were soybean fields to get to my house when we bought it. And that is where I wanted to raise my kid at, in an environment like that. Putting something like this in, not only does it bring air quality issues with more dust in the air, we also are worried about water. You know, if this is a facility where they have to dig wells, they're going to tap an already somewhat strained water table in that area and potentially dry up our wells. And our properties have been there, and we bought them, you know, expecting to have good clean water coming out of the ground. Also, my property sets in what is the drainage for most of this area. So I'm very concerned about water runoff. Anything that they have on that side, whether it be hydrocarbons, if we're talking about using this as truck stop or anything else, and how does that run off? Does that now not only affect my land, but also affect my water as well? So water runoff is big. And then probably two of the biggest ones from where it currently is, its rural setting that it is noise and light pollution as well. This is going to bring in a lot of noise. And it's also, I've never seen trucks parked somewhere where they didn't have 24-hour lights on, because they do that for security. And I understand that. But right now, I can step out my front porch on any given night that's clear and see every star in the sky. And if I have big phosphorescent lights just the other side, I'm not going to have that anymore. So given all the issues that further development of this land and converting it from the farmland that it is, for me, I can't support in any way, shape, or form wanting to see this land develop into anything other than the farmland that it is. We chose this county, we chose this area specifically for that, and to see that ripped away would be heartbreaking.
Thank you, sir.
Afternoon. My name's Stephen White, live at 6420 Tower Lane. You spoke with my wife. My concerns are traffic on 360. We've had several very bad accidents on 360 in that section of roadway. There is no turn lane there to get into Pine Ridge. So you either have to go up to the next one, making a U-turn. Let's think about that on a 4-lane road with a tractor and trailer. There's no turn lanes on 360 in that area. Is he going to be responsible for putting turn lanes in so the trucks are not slowing down to a dead stop on 360 to make the turn into that piece of property? It's a dirt road. It's not a wide intersection. And that's one of my questions also. Again, have we talked to railroad to find out whether he's even going to be allowed to do that? When we filled out our application for the railroad, they didn't want us driving pickup trucks or farm equipment across a private railroad track crossing. Now you're going to let this man drive a tractor and trailer across it? I think somebody needs to talk with the railroad, maybe VDOT get involved here and have some conversations with those about traffic flow, turn lanes on 360 in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
What, Billy Cap, 6625 Pine Ridge Drive. A lot of those same concerns are for Eric as well. We're next door neighbor to Dan and them. We just went through this about a year ago. We bought our property in early 90s and there wasn't any restrictions. And we had to get, for my youngest son to move on a parcel that we had, it was 21.5 acres. We had to fill out and go through a special permit because they changed the rules just to put his house there. So now I've got 2 houses on one parcel, but yet he wants to come in and put this out there. Same thing. I mean, why have a parking lot on one side of the road? The drivers can be walking back and forth across the road to get to their vehicles or to the shop or whatever they need to do. Just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the railroad issue, been there several times. I can't count my whole family. We've actually sat there 4 hours and couldn't get across the railroad tracks because when they started bringing it back in for the dump. Finally, after enough calls that we made to the last county administrator, they finally got that straight, and now they stopped like right before our driveway. But there were many, many days that we couldn't get in and out of there. So I don't understand how they've had the railroad working that property when we have that road there. You can't access your house. But again, their question or their concerns about the runoff, one of the runoffs that comes across that field comes right behind Dan's house, which comes right behind their house that feeds the creeks that run right behind Wallach Harding's farm there. Just doesn't make a lot of sense. So we don't support it as well.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Marlene Paxton. I live at 6800 Pine Ridge Drive. I also do not support it. It is a rural preservation area. Why would we change it to industrial or commercial? It is for rural preservation. Same things with the water runoff. It's going to destroy any of the other fields there, even if it's just a parking lot. Simply some liquids fall out of a vehicle and that's going to get down, wash off of that parking lot into the woods, down into the farmland. I'd like to keep the rural area rural. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Caleb Capps. I live at 6580 Pine Ridge Drive. I'd just like to echo everything everybody said here. I think we can all say we're all for the expansion of business. I think that's a good thing. But as a resident of Pine Ridge Drive, I've been married for almost 2 years, just going to start a family. I'm going to live there. I plan on living there until the day I die. So, it's a very near and dear place in my heart. I've lived there since I can remember. And just to think of just all the sound pollution, air pollution, light pollution. I mean, I go out and see just the big, beautiful sky with all the stars. And I love expansion of business, but if there's a place that he can do it away from our property, just so that we can have that peace that comes with country living, I work for a transportation company and I know that, very industrial and I'm all for industrial, but not in the rural Amelia, I love the way our county is now and I go out and work in the city every day. And, when I come home to big open skies and beautiful trees and beautiful grass. And I just love to keep that and preserve that. So, I just, echo what everybody said and I just, hope you guys can take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Larry Barthurst, 6745 Pine Ridge Drive. I share all the concerns that have been mentioned so far, but there's one other that nobody has spoken about. That's property values. If this is zone B1, M2, or whatever, we've got some nice houses down Pine Ridge Drive. I've got the 2 lots that abut this property on the south side of the railroad. So that's another concern in addition to the traffic, the noise pollution, the light pollution, maybe the water pollution. Who knows? So I'm definitely not in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak? For or against?
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is David Worsham, and address is 21502 Patrick Henry Highway. I'm standing here, for the most part, I came to the meeting, honestly, not having a full understanding. Wanted to receive clarity, and I appreciate what I've already heard and much detail from other residents around our establishment. I pastor Church of Christ Apostolic Faith, which houses the Amelia County Food Pantry right next door to the current location of Tatum and Trucking. And so pretty much we've already had to deal with and experience to some extent what individuals are and have expressed on tonight as far as why they oppose this expansion on the other side of the highway. We, to some extent, share an entryway. To my knowledge, 3/4 of that entryway into our ministry is on our property. The other part is on theirs, but their trucks always use that's an easier turn versus having to go up to their primary entrance, kind of wheeling around and going around the building. So the issue with dust, air quality, with the noise, when it comes time, matter of fact, this past, I think a week or 2 ago, we had our USDA distribution at the pantry. And the need has gotten so great now to the point that it used to be just 1 line of vehicles, sometimes 2. We had 4 lanes of traffic. Well, I'm out there by the road, and someone had already stated there's no turn lanes off the 360. And truck comes and does their best to squeeze on right through there. You got people, older people, driving the vehicles, following our instructions and so forth, but truck still wheels in there, trying to get around them, could have easily hit other vehicles and different things of that nature. So as far as the expansion on the other side, one of the questions I had, and I believe someone always brought it up, how would that impact the water quality? Would it impact on both sides of the highway? The traffic of vehicles coming up. It's a tight turn to have to make a U-turn right there at where the fire station is to come back down the road. And then again, the issue about there being turning lanes. Would that be something that he and his business would consider or be responsible for installing? We, from time to time, and I'm gonna wrap up my remarks, from time to time, pretty much a good working relationship. But as far as somewhat repairing the entryway of the entrance to our property, but we all know how it works with gravel. You ride over it long enough, if there's not anything to compact it, it's going to be spread. And so we deal with standing water and other issues. There are times when we get heavy rains and different things of the nature as a result of those trucks. And so we too would be in opposition to the developing a parking lot, if you will, on the other side, because based on what I've heard about Zone B1 or M2, specifically M2, sounds like that's open to 5 years down the road, you can do something different. 10 years down the road, you can do something different. And we've been at our establishment for well over 35 years now, and it's been good to us. So that's all I can say.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Kimberly Capps, and I'm sorry for my voice. It's been a rough week. But I am Billy Capps's wife, living at 6625 Pine Ridge Drive. I'm the mother of the young man that just spoke up here. And he and I are very much alike. So we're very sentimental and have our warm, cozy feelings about our land. I'm just going to tell you my mama's heart, little Miss Marley back there, 4 years old. I share the same concern as her mama. I'm getting ready to have my first grandchild back there. And so we have a younger generation that's coming up, and not to say that it would, but I would like to say that it could happen, that with that increased traffic, that could also affect the safety of our children, because children don't always do what they're told. And, sometimes they get out of our sight. So I'd like to ask you to consider the safety of our children with that increased traffic coming and going. And the fact that we also have dogs that run free, and we would hate to have to fence them all in and limit their freedom to run on our acreage. So that's all I have to say about it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak for or against? Anyone else like to speak for or against before I close the public hearing? We will try answering some of the questions. Some, I don't know if we know the answers. Anyone else like to speak? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Turn it back to the planning commission. I do appreciate all those that did speak. We always enjoy public speaking up to us. Don't feel intimidated. We do take all this to heart. So thanks again for your participation in the public hearing. Any questions from the board of super, planning commission? I don't want that job. Mike, did you want to speak to the M1 and the B1 and M2? M2 is pretty much industrial altogether. B1 has a whole lot. It's more residential mixture type thing. Go ahead and speak. The
Yes,
2 or 3 asked that question.
Yes, sir. Bear with me. I'm going to open up the zoning ordinance and read from that. So B1 is a business district. It's the general business district for the county. And the intent in that district reads that generally this district covers that portion of the community intended for the conduct of general business to which the public requires direct and frequent access, but which is not characterized by either by constant and heavy trucking other than stocking and delivery of light retail goods, or by any nuisance factors other than occasioned by an incidental light and noise of congregation of people in passenger vehicles. This includes such uses as retail stores, banks, theaters, business offices, newspaper offices, printed presses, restaurants, public garages, and service stations. In addition, the manufacture, compounding, processing, or treatment of products is prohibited in this district, unless it is clearly incidental and essential to a use permitted by right, and unless all such products are customarily sold at retail on the premises. In addition, this district is designed to exclude manufacturing, compounding, processing, or treatment of products and operations which are objectionable because of odor, dust, smoke, noise, vibration, or other similar nuisances. So it's generally common commercial retail uses, also the truck stop use. The existing business across the street is zone B1 as well. And the M2 district is one of the industrial districts. It's intended to provide certain areas within the county for the development of industrial uses that are incompatible with residential uses. This district should not be allowed to locate in any area adjacent to residential districts. And permitted uses, it talks about manufacturing of acid, cement, gypsum, fertilizer, and lime, asphalt mixing, concrete, coal and wood yards, feed and flour mills, paper and pulp manufacturing, petroleum refining and storage. And there's additional uses permitted by special exception.
Did that answer your question, ma'am? And anyone else that had that want to know what a B1 and a M2? Yes, sir.
First off, I just moved up here, so I don't know everybody. This gentleman was speaking to, who is he?
Oh.
Oh,
He.
oh.
It's fine.
Well, we've only had him a couple months, but we had Brady, who was worked for the county.
Okay.
And he left, then the county administrator left.
I got you.
So now the board of supervisors hired a company that we have an assistant administrator.
Mhm.
And this is the planning commission or
Planning
that's who Mike
consultant.
is.
Right.
So my next question is, he just said the M2 is not supposed to be zoned next to a residential piece of property.
That's what I'm
Correct.
saying.
And that's.
I just wanted y'all asked the question what a B1 and the M2. So I want everybody to know what a B1 and the M2 is.
The way he just read it, in M2 can't be put there.
And I agree with him. I'm a little confused as to why it was.
He just
No,
read word for word, right?
I know. That's what I was wondering why.
I'm a little, yeah. Can you answer that? Why would that be allowed to be applied for when it's strictly against the ordinance?
Well,
That's my
yeah, you
opinion.
can't prohibit somebody from applying for a rezoning.
Yeah. You can
Okay.
apply for anything.
But even if
Now,
it's
whether you
against the ordinance.
granted it is a
Okay.
different story.
I got you.
Thank you.
All right. We haven't seen a VDOT recommendation. Before we can do anything, we gotta have a VDOT recommendation, one way or the other. That was one question. Railroad, I'm not sure about the railroad. We've never dealt with a railroad. I didn't realize that y'all's entrance is a private road. Do you know how wide that entrance is? Is it 30 feet, 20 feet, 16 feet?
Before I can develop my new subdivision.
So it's 50-foot wide. So that could be maintained by the state, other than they couldn't cross the railroad without railroad's permission. I know, but I'm saying if it's 50-foot wide, it could be in time.
You guys gotta prove you take the road over, then you gotta do road maintenance, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm saying with 50 feet, that could be accomplished. Was any other questions that y'all brought up? You want more explanation to? Those that jumped out at me and I made notes about. Because I want everybody to understand what's going on here. We're not trying to pull wool over anybody's eyes. Any other questions on your comments? If not, I'm going to turn it back to the planning commission members and see what questions they have and recommendations one way or the other. Any member have any questions, comments, suggestions?
Both of these parcels are between the railroad and 360 Road?
Yes, they're between
They wouldn't have to cross railroad.
No, they wouldn't have to cross the railroad, but the, Tatumwood home or M1 with M2 would be on each side of their driveway going in. It's right straight across from Tatum now. I think it was Stone.
It's a little.
They're all down the road a little ways from
Yeah.
Tatum, but not far down the road.
Yeah.
First of all, please, because that, the comment read to us that you should not put M1 or M2 next to residential. You can entertain the B1 all you want to, but he didn't ask for B1, he asked for M2. And also, I don't like the idea, even if you want to read it over to B1, no specific use has been identified for a purpose for it. I don't like that. What zoning?
Why did that get left over?
I don't know, but not knowing, having any idea what he wants to put there, what he wants to do with it. And since we can't put M2 there because of the way the zoning ordinance is written, I make a motion we deny it.
All right, Easter made a motion to deny.
Let's second the motion.
Ramsey seconded, it won. Any more discussion?
I have one
My
question.
concern was we didn't have a VDOT
Right.
or a railroad.
Not gonna matter.
And we'd have to table it one way or the other, but for M2, that's not gonna
Right.
flow.
So if we deny it, can he still come back and request B1 since he didn't actually request B1? Or, so he would still have to come back and request that?
Mike would have to answer that.
So you're making a recommendation, it would go to the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah.
And to see what they ultimately decided to do. But let's say it's denied, then he could rezone it or seek a rezoning to B1, correct? I don't think there's a period where he can't reapply for a period of time, but he could reapply as B1. You know, alternatively, you can rezone it to B1, even though that's not what he has requested. But he could also come back to request that as well.
Okay. Mr. Tatum not here?
No, I sent him a text earlier to remind him.
Councilman.
Flag somebody.
It's kind of done.
Not unusual though, if you come here.
I think that one of the biggest concerns is the turning lane and how they plan to get across 360 is.
Yeah,
concern.
that's what I like to know, VDOT.
Walk across, yeah.
And we haven't had that. All right, you heard the motion, it's been second. Any more discussion or questions?
Well, I think the thing is that, the way the request is, that we don't have any option but to deny, recommend for denial. And, if these other questions, you know, if he in the future comes to the big one, then there's still a lot of questions that will have to be answered because these citizens in this area have done an excellent job of analyzing that, and we appreciate that as members of the planning commission.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for Michael.
Okay.
Michael, Mr. Tatum owns the parcel of land to the left of the fire station. What's the zoning on that piece of land? It's right across. Can you look at the map?
Is he directly east of the fire station?
East, yeah, directly east of the fire station. I think it wraps around it, don't it?
Goes back, straight back to the river.
That's 79A.
Let's see. Might not
Rob,
be on
You said
our-
it's east of the fire station?
It's R1, according to the GIS.
You say R1? Residential.
Oh, that one.
That's the fire station right there.
Yeah, 79.
That's the post office.
Is that right, Mike?
Oh, 79A. Oh, they're both the
Talking
same
about
number.
talking about that piece right there.
They both look
Don't
like
know
speed bumps.
exactly, apologies, which parcel the fire station parcel is.
It-
You said it was 79.
It looks like there's two 79As, but it's between 79B and 79E.
All right, bear with me one second.
That's by 78A.
Yeah. Yeah, 39-79A.
Or I noticed that right.
So it's not finding that parcel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said. That's fine. This is a lot you're talking.
798.
I mean, she has it up.
I got it.
Ashley has it. Okay. What are you trying?
It's
Oh, you're switching
so
source. I got you. There it is.
okay,
Yeah.
so there's two parcels
Oh,
and
that's.
they are both zoned R1.
Oh, this is old. Then,
R,
'cause this is not
those are one.
So from now.
Okay.
Oh.
Just see. Any more questions? He answered your question.
Yeah. Mr. Tatum owns it, but he does not own the pieces that he's trying to rezone, right?
That's right.
It's what?
He doesn't own.
It says he
I-
does according to application. Yeah,
He
the
does?
application says he does.
Says it.
Yeah, he signed as the owner.
Okay.
And it's on the property ID card. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
Any more?
All right, that answers the question.
All right. Any more questions for the vote on the motion? Heard the motion to deny this, send it to the Board of Supervisors, and it'd be up to them to make the final decision. We just get things straight before then. Any more discussion?
Motion should just say recommend.
Recommend.
Mhm.
The denial.
Mhm.
I hear no more questions. All in favor of the motion to recommend denial, making no mistake saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. 100% carry.
Don't forget to show up to the Board of Supervisors meeting.
You will
You-
get letters. It's normally the third Wednesday of the month, whichever date that is.
There's,
But you will get letters.
well, maybe not all of them will because,
Well, whoever, adjacent property owners will
yeah,
get
not
letters.
everybody. Only if you abut,
So
yeah.
if you're not an adjacent property owner, just let your neighbor know.
December 18th, 7 PM.
But Board of Supervisors have a public hearing and they are the ones that make the final decisions. We just make a recommendation. Thanks again for your participation. All right, moving on. I think that's. All right,
Chairman,
yes, sir.
all the commissioners who go out 360 and turn right on Pine Ridge, it's like trying to turn without somebody coming up the state park.
That's a lot of places in the precinct. Only comments I have that I know of is the comprehensive plan was updated. We worked on the agricultural part. I think it was in our packet on the 14th. We're having another meeting on the Thursday, December the 12th. I think it's right.
Yes. 10 o'clock.
At 10 o'clock.
Wait, what is that? December what?
December 12th is a Thursday,
Oh, I might actually can do that.
on that.
Let me put that on my calendar.
I don't know if you reviewed, looked through all the agricultural part. We did make some comments that a lot of things have changed, especially with Tyson going out. And some of the figures seem kind of awkward. We're not sure if they were right or not, but she was going to check on that. And I think a little bit more on the timber. I see we did get something on the forestry sales in this packet. We didn't have that day. That's the only comments that I have updating. Now somebody has some questions. If possible, try to spread the word to certainly do the survey. I know as of that date, they'd had 52 or 55 come back with the QR code, whatever that thing is.
Good.
And then we've had some papers coming back. And supposedly certainly the QR code is a lot of different businesses. Not all papers are there. So if you want a paper, check with the administration building here and we'll certainly get you one. I'm not sure if they've approached the school system yet as to get it for the juniors and seniors to answer a survey or get it to the parents. That's about where it stands now. It's open until December 15th or 16th, and we may extend it from there. Just depends on what requests we can get. I did speak at the ALF
Yeah, Amelia.
a couple
leads
weeks
it.
ago. When the whole lot of participation was raining at night.
It's kind of like that a lot though. They run it live and people will send in stuff. They don't ever get, oh,
And
I
I
mean,
I
usually
tried
it
to
depends.
specify there to certainly
Yeah.
do your survey. So, all right, this budget planning, is that for the county?
That's for the county.
CIP?
CIP, but also there's some things that come up for the planning commission. There are education opportunities, so I would like to recommend that with new people, especially bring over if they decide to walk away, wherever, or if existing members want to take education opportunities, I can also add that into the budget request for planning and zoning.
Okay.
So it's just something to discuss.
All right, just CIP, is that gonna come up in January or we need to meet? We normally meet in January, I thought.
Right, we're just sent the email out, or Tammy did, to Daryl in hopes of push that for everyone to get that in by December. I'll double check the due date.
I think it's the 5th or the 6th.
Right. Something like that. So we will be discussing that in January.
Or do you wanna try to set up a meeting in January before our meeting or?
Whatever
No.
you choose, you're begging call.
It's a little different process this year, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
The actual department heads will schedule a workshop with the board of supervisors during our strategic plan process, which will give us a little insight of their CIP needs. I don't think that's gonna take care of what the CIP does, but there's a lot of meetings going on, so we'll have to see how it all plays out to
Okay.
see where we're at.
I just know we normally meet second week or so in January to start it.
I will get back with you on that and I'll send an email to everyone after I discuss it with Tammy on what she recommends once we receive everything.
All right, but if, they probably should meet with them first. And that would certainly help some things. Probably thin out a lot of stuff that comes to us that we know is foolishness.
Is our next meeting still gonna be the 23rd of December? That's the fourth Monday.
Well, last meeting, according to the minutes, we were not gonna have a December meeting.
Okay.
Now something was pushed.
Yeah.
Do you know if anything's pushed?
Potential, applications, one for rezoning and one for a special exception permit, but I did forewarn them that we're unsure if currently there is no meeting planned, but that could change.
Okay.
I will work.
So what's y'all's pleasure?
I mean, if they both.
23rd, that's pretty tight on Christmas.
Yeah. It is 16th, maybe the week before.
Well, that's, if they, week before, they're gonna have to do something next week because it's gotta be 2 weeks, now it's at least 2 weeks ahead. So that's pretty much gonna kill it.
Please keep in mind that I also do several other committees and board items. I'll do what you tell me to, but
I'd say right now, no December meeting.
I'd say too late for Christmas.
It's too short.
It's, yeah. Everybody get too much.
They can certainly wait another to January. I don't think they're pushing that hard.
I'll make a motion that we
Juan make the
do not
motion.
have.
December meeting.
Just so we can vote and make it official.
Got all kind of seconds. You kind of choose. Mr. Morris, I think, seconded first. Is any other comments or things you need to bring up?
I got one.
Go ahead.
We we meet on the comprehensive plan on the 12th. I think we may have to start looking into the overlay district. Because we all know that this rezoning request fell into overlay.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it does.
And we talked about how the railroad would affect different parcels. And then opened up 360 more or less all the way through a million. So we're kind of going back on one. I think we need to look at that overlay district and really dig into it and see what parcels are developed, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of just opening up the whole 360, because
Yeah.
we would have a whole lot more of these
Long 360.
going through subdivision, private roads, or residential areas. So maybe we ought to look at that again before we.
And also, that's the only M2 that we've been in that whole area. And that's spot zoning, which we recommend against anyway.
So I think the new industrial park was M2.
That's down the road a ways.
And the wood yard and.
And it's on the other
And
side
the-
where there's.
And it's not just a little parcel, it's a whole huge tract of land.
I think the wood yard is M1.
Yeah, I think one's M1 and then the extra land was M2.
But I just think we need to look over this overlay district and make sure that that's what
We
we're
get
getting.
what we want.
Yeah, because we may have to look at lots and development areas and see which way we need to go. But I think it needs another eye on it.
One of the things y'all need to consider too is that, and Oldham was talking, he was talking about this has been here a long time, zone B1. Before August 8th of 1988, we didn't have a zoning ordinance, period. That's when it all started, August 8th of 1988, when we implemented the first zoning ordinance. So what they did is businesses like Goodman's and people who'd been there for a long time, they zoned them automatically to what they thought would be appropriate for that type of business. So it's not like did anybody in that area ask for that type of zoning. That's just the way it ended up when you had to create the zoning ordinance. Because I was not on the planning commission, but I was around back then when they did that.
Sure, you're still young.
That's kind of crazy that it was that late in the 80s, you know, that before they had it.
Yeah, yeah, 80s.
Shows you how rural it was. Yeah.
Well, that,
I mean, it is how they could develop the zoning ordinance.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying is I
but
was shocked that it was
M2,
that late.
M2 is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the
B1's
problem is what's allowed with them too without coming back to us. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You open that up to a big can of worms without even having to come back and ask for a special exception.
B1 has some things in there, but most of it is somewhat controlled.
Yeah, you can't even have
I
a
mean,
Go with residential.
mechanic.
I'm still gonna oppose to it the way it was presented for B1, because no
Don't know
purpose
what
to
you
say
say.
that. That's
I mean,
law.
it's not stated on paper. It's
Right.
only what,
We should not be rezoning anything for no reason. You know what I'm saying?
It's like the text said parking, but the application said no use intended. You know, like the intro is the only place where it said. parking.
Well,
Well, I
they
was
can-
aware of David's point, about the overlay
yeah.
district. That's something that, you know, things are not gonna be perfect, but the more prepared we are, better job we can do.
Because we may have some other things coming up that's gonna really shake you up too. Kind of heard through the wind,
I keep hearing things through the wind.
but you gotta think too as to what is the fallout on the whole county as far as expenses and updates. So I'm not sure when that'll hit us or if it will hit us, but I'm sure it's coming at some point in time with Chesterfield barreling down on us, 288 movement. So a lot of things coming up in the next few years. That's one thing that's comprehensive plan. We're trying to work it so the county officers have a pretty good idea of what county residents would like where and throughout the county. So it's not going to be a quick hurry up, get it voted, going in through the board of supervisors. It's going to be a slow process. Not like we have done in earlier times.
Certainly might shed some light on some of that.
Should, I'm sure. And I'm sure when the public hearing hits with the overlay and a lot of this other stuff, we'll get some more worms coming out of the can that we can discuss and, before we vote on it. Anyone else have anything else? Well, if not, don't eat too much turkey for your Thanksgiving with the family. And we'll see you next year.
We